Good morning, gang, from somewhere in the middle of Kansas. I cannot even recall the name of the town at the moment. It is good something or gold something. I don't know. Gold maybe? I'm gonna have to look now. Like where in the world is Tony? Good land. That's where we are. Good land. Yes, Richard got it. Nice. Okay, so we're going to do forward focus a little bit early here today. Hopefully, everybody got the multiple messages I sent out across the interwebs. Really? You were born in Hutchinson, Kansas. How cool. I was born in a little bitty town in Iowa, right smack dab in the middle of Iowa. It is a very flat state. The funny thing is I've got my son with me as we're traveling. So basically, we're doing a road trip across the United States, checking out all of the small town little parks. So he's making friends at all of the little city parks. You know, all the towns, they have like a 800 to 2,000 people. And every time the kids are always so thrilled that there's another kid there at the park to play with. And they have all of the playground equipment that's basically outlawed in the big cities because they consider them too dangerous. So you've got all the monkey bars, you've got the merry-go-rounds. So we had kids flying off the merry-go-rounds. Come on, that's what childhood's about, right? You should at some point in your life go flying off of a merry-go-round and hoping not to get a concussion. They don't have that in the big cities, at least none of them that we've lived in for a while. Don't want kids to get injured anymore. Man, gotta be daring. So that's what we've been doing. I am back in Tucson probably on Saturday. So a little bit of news coming up. As I've let you guys know before, I am going to be out of the country at the beginning of August. So we will be skipping Forward Focus live during that time. If I have a good internet connection and stuff, I'll record some sessions for you guys and stick them up and let you know. But I'm not sure, exactly what the crazy travel schedule is going to be while I'm overseas. So I don't want to make any promises. For those of you that are in League of Traders, we will be setting up compensation for the 2 weeks that I'm gone. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, if they're going to move billing back or do it half, but that's what we're going to do. No, we're just having forward focus an hour early just for today. So just today because of the crazy time schedule. But it will be posted on YouTube as well, so you can go and review it. And I'm trying to figure out, for some reason, on my other GoToWebinars, I can get it set up so that it will automatically send out a replay to both people that are registered and that miss it. But when I'm trying to set it up on Forward Focus, it's not letting me do that. So I'm gonna have to get in touch with GoToWebinar when I get back and see if we can get that set up too. So when people do miss Forward Focus, they'll automatically get the replay sent that way also. I know all my marketing people are like, don't do that. You want them to be, they're live. I figure those of you that want to be live, you'll be here live. All right, guys, let's flip on over here to the charts. I mean, I can't harass you if you're not here live, right? The League of Trader folks, Richard, they get a replay link 2 hours after the session concludes, whether they are there or not, as long as you've registered for the sessions. And supposedly, I'm supposed to be able to do that for Forward Focus too, but every time I open the screen, it just goes to a blank screen. So I'm going to have to harass them about that, see if we can get that figured out. All right, I'm going to close down the PowerPoint here. We're going to go look at our charts. I did not bring my other monitor into the hotel here this morning, so we are going to be kind of playing one monitor squishing. So this morning, my main trade basically has just been this momentum reversal. I didn't catch the short side of things. I'll just do a quick review here of what our momentum reversal looks like. So you can see it here on the 100-tick chart. We have our two main moves down, and then we had the shift here. One low, two lows, three lows. And I bought a little bit early because we had even spacing on like the 15-second chart, but then I added in here too. So we're just still playing out this little bit of a messy phoenix on this two-wave move. So now we have the main two-wave exhaustion on the momentum reversal. So let's take a look at what's going on the larger time frames in the market right now. So I'm going to go all the way back to our monthly chart. So we have just been in this megaphone for quite a while now. And then Nicole posted an image that she went back and got from May where we were looking for this to continue up to the upper end. I guess we were looking at the S&Ps as well. So we're still continuing to see that. And as I talked with you guys about in League of Traders yesterday, let me clear this. We're at this zone of pain or do or die zone on the daily time frame here. It's a situation where we've had a really strong rally to start with, and then it's kind of shifting, but it's still a little bit more bullish, but it can still shift and trap. So it's undecided as to whether this is going to go and do a second wave up or if the momentum is going to shift here and try to pull back. And I'm leaning towards that second option. We looked at a number of examples yesterday in League of Traders of how that played out. I'm leaning towards that just because this is so messy and we don't have a nice parallel level. We don't have, the slower overall corrections in here. So I do think there's better chances that this can trap on the upside short term and pull back. It's going to, be going into August about when we would see this confirmation on this. So this next week, you really have to pay so much more attention to what's going on the intraday charts because momentum can shift and just one single momentum shift within this channel can change and give us that confirmation for which way we're going to see this break. So that's why we call this the zone of pain, because it is one of the trickiest places in the market to trade. And it's a lot of just waiting, and then suddenly, bam, you've got to act like last minute. It's not like patterns like a 2T where you have an idea of where that setup's going to come with a nice measured move, where you've got, that little bit of a higher high, and maybe you'll get a little bit of blurb, but it's going to be right in there. It's not like that. Or even on the pullback here, you got like this nice two-wave measured move with the two-wave correction. It's a perfect timing for the continuation. That's not the case here. In this situation, risk is much, much higher. Yesterday, League of Traders, our intraday action followed through perfectly, didn't it, you guys? We were looking at this. So this had the main two waves up and then this crash. So League of Traders yesterday, we were meeting here And what we were looking at was it started to develop into the potential for a two-wave move down here. We were watching this right in here. It went for that two wave that I drew for you guys, and then we were looking for things to turn around and even go back to retest the highs. It did it with a momentum reversal, kind of a flush at the very end of the day, but it held that shift and then popped right back up. So we were looking at the possibility of it doing that, kind of doing the shallow continuation and then turning around, or the version that it ended up doing, and this is the one we were favoring, and that's the one that held, was the one we were favoring. We went into megaphone here, going into today, and that's what we are seeing playing out right now. Not a perfect megaphone because our second high here is right about the same as the first high. So if this had been a little bit higher here, this would have been a more ideal short. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it still ended up holding the zone. The timing between the highs on the 30-minute chart is a little bit off. We like to see generally a little bit more spacing between 2 and 3. Let me show you it on the tick chart though. So sometimes our tick charts will look totally different than our time frame charts, and we'll have that more ideal spacing. I keep yawning on you guys, and I'm not even that tired. So here's where it is on the tick charts, and you can see totally different spacing on the tick charts than the time frame charts. This happens especially right at the beginning of the day because you've got the after hours data, the data between the previous day's close and the current day's open, and so that is what skews things early on in the day. You don't notice it as much later in the day unless you're looking at bigger time frames. So this is why it's really important to look at both of them. So here, nice little phoenix into the open, brings us back up. And then we had the shallow avalanche. So the main thing with the shallow avalanche, when we look at this as it gets going, is that if you're looking at correction periods, see this correction period? Basically, this is going to do a two-wave move here. It should have gone and pulled up. Again, there ideally with the similar time development. So you end up with this base that's a little bit on the longer side, second pull down, little inverse, little head and shoulders here. And here's our momentum reversal, this point. So this is our next zone that we could have gotten a bigger move where it could have tried to go for a larger parallelogram. So what I was watching was as it came into this lower channel, could it hold the channel well enough to bring in another pop? And what happened was that when it came into that support from the parallel channel, it pushed under it with the momentum reversal. So even though we got that momentum reversal trigger, it ended up just being a scalp because this pulled in a little bit too sharp, couldn't hold the lower end of that channel to bring it up to that third high. So here's our two waves, our phoenix, little phoenix in here in the middle. And then you can see we're struggling at this point. I'm going to go back to a little bit of a bigger chart here, back to around like, not even the 2000. I'm going to go even larger than that. We'll go up to the 8,000 here. And actually, I'm even going to go up to the 20. Because I want you guys to see the larger momentum that we've got going on here. So this was a bigger leg up, and then we've got the shift. So this shift that we've seen here on the 20,000 tick, on the daily tick, or on the daily, on the daily chart, this is that situation where we can get moves like this that can go and flip this around, or we can get the move that can go and break higher, but it'll usually pull back even sharper here. So it'll kind of break this channel, pull back here, and then try to go and get going. So this zone in here, this is going to be so iffy. We've got to really watch that momentum. I'm going to be basically playing the shorter term time frames on this level in here, just because I'm not sure exactly which way that's going to go. I'm leaning for it to break down. I'm leaning for it to lead to a correction where we've got a larger swing trade correction on the daily time frame. That's what my primary bias is going to be. But we have seen situations where this will go and do that extra pop. So it will have basically looking like this. It's just not the normal situation in here for that to be the most likely scenario. So most likely scenario is even if it tries to pop, it'll try to pull back in here. And again, yesterday in League of Traders, we looked at a lot of examples of that. So you can go back and review that session, and it goes into a lot more details. Richard speculating that the market will correct shortly after if the Fed lowers rates and sell the news. I think that you are probably spot on with that. I would agree with you there. So let's go take a look at some of the other markets here. We've got the S&Ps, so 4,000 tick chart. So we have our two-wave development here, basically two-wave up, two-wave correction, two-wave up. This is why I count in waves of two, because if I don't count in waves of two, then I'm not seeing that. So what I'm doing is I'm seeing this as my main move, my counter correction, my secondary move. This is kind of like the getting started zone. So this is my first main two, my two of correction, then my second main two, because the time of the correction here and here's the same. So we're kind of coming back into the high. It can go to the higher high, but this is the same type of situation we've got going on the daily time frame. So it is at one of those zone of pain levels. This can go and shift and turn and flush to the downside, or it can shift and go and do a measured move again on the upside. It could do either of those at this spot because it has these slightly higher highs. So instead of going into a nice lovely base here, which could create a pretty little 2T, which again is what we were speculating yesterday, it's kind of shifting here. So we need to see how this tries to pull back, how that tries to correct in here. Because this could definitely still try to do a 2T, but it's not perfect here. The tick charts on the 8,000 tick, it's just kind of meh. So here, this is the 4,000 tick. Here's the 8,000. Quite a different view here. I'm gonna go back bigger. Oh, this is the MNQ. This is why things are looking different here. Why is I'm like, that was kind of weird. My connections, my charts got changed on some of these. Let's fix that. That will look more similar. I'm like, why does the 8,000 look so different than the 4,000? It shouldn't look that weird. So 8,000, 20,000. I mean, this 20,000, same thing, you guys. It's just kind of a false first high here. So this can go and have three highs here in the range like this. And then that could even go and do a momentum reversal plus. So kind of leaning for this to pull down into the next couple of days. But really watching the momentum because we are in that more hesitant zone. You'll see a lot of these two-wave moves though. So here's our two-wave we were looking at on the bigger time frame. So watch how this momentum changes on this. This tries to do a two-wave here. It might go and shift like this. Let me try to draw that a little clearer for you. So it could shift like that, and that could help bring in some stronger buying. But it's really speculative at this moment. There's just not a huge bias there. It could very well be that, we're just kind of in a waiting pattern right now. So we've got the two-wave move here, trying a little bit of the megaphone with it. So it's not the perfect Phoenix, trying to get going. But this is, something that there would be the situation that would have that potential for the 2T, but it's just not perfect. Let's go up to larger time frames. You can see that kind of 2T-ish move here on the 120. I was trying that secondary move. It might not even go to a higher high, so it might just channel here and pull back. We do see that happening. Happened on something, was it yesterday? I don't think it was yesterday that I was trading. So it didn't quite make the full higher high because of where that paused, but then it still had a nice little flush there. So that's what I would be looking for on the 120, is for that to start to try to do that flush. You can see here on the 242, it's also at a good level that can have a flush to the downside pretty easily, just because of how slow this is. It's the upside here. So I'm gonna watch that. We'll see if that can develop. I probably won't be here to catch it because I would assume it would try to happen here today. So it might be able to do it with like a momentum reversal on the tick charts, or momentum reversal plus on the tick charts, and that could bring in that flush. My charts are cut off sometimes on the side, yeah, so I'm on one monitor, so I'm just looking. Let me see what my audience view says. Yep, yeah, so you're seeing partial. I didn't bring my other monitor in here this morning. Let's see, we're gonna go look at oil. Has been fun to play. I've been trading oil here this morning. Let me show you guys what's going on oil here. We'll start off with a bigger time frame. Oops, that is not a bigger time frame. That is a 5-minute chart. Monthly, so monthly we're basing at lows, but we're right at the middle of this wedge here, and it's still looking a little bit more on the bearish side. You can see this base here on this, so this has that room for an extra drop here. It also could go into, if this drops faster, it could go into a megaphone, a bigger megaphone. It's kind of iffy here on the larger time frames. A little bit of a head and shoulders. I'll show you the smaller ones though. That's where we had some fun action here earlier today. So scalpers, we had the momentum reversal here. This is the main trade that I did in oil. And then it did like what we saw in the NASDAQ yesterday. It was almost exactly the same. So the bigger time frame had that larger bias for the downside. So let me show you this. So here's the momentum reversal and the pop. And then it has the second move. I want to show you the comparison to what we did in the NASDAQ yesterday in the morning. Let me see here. Scrolling over. I need to go back to a bigger time frame to place myself here. Hold on. Let's make this bigger so I can see where I'm at. All right, it's right here on the 200 tick. So I'm going to go up a little bit bigger. And I'll put these next to each other here. And this is why this midway zone is so tricky. When we are at a midway zone where you've got one main drop and then you start to see these lower lows. So in this case, we had the megaphone yesterday, and you can see kind of the same type of thing happening here. And then it drops. So it has that pullback and then it continues the trend. So when we're looking at what's going on the daily time frame, the question is, how is this going to play out at this point? Is it going to do like what we saw here, where it just pulls back and then it shifts and then continues the trend on the upside? So the Nasdaq is actually, this pattern flipped over. Or is it going to go and reverse? And so this is that do or die point. Now, in both the oil and the NQ yesterday, the bias was lower just because of the bigger time frames. But on the NASDAQ, the bias is less secure. It can go either way. So these are fun to look for. Basically, what it does is it will break that previous high, and then you'll get the short. So you almost always get that slightly higher high, which of course traps your bulls. And then it's not unusual. It starts off slowly like this and then gains the momentum, and you'll get the two wave again, just like you would over here. So you get your two wave continuation. So almost exactly the same pattern here on oil as we saw yesterday on the NASDAQ. Isn't that awesome? I think it is so awesome how the market does this. It just even repeats messy action. So what this would say is that, if it still tries to repeat that, it should be trying to do a phoenix in here. We'll see if it can do it because the larger NASDAQ was stronger at this point because it had flushed so much. So we were looking for that to rally into the afternoon, whereas the larger oil is weaker. So Phoenix is going to have a harder time. So this is where you can see things where patterns can shift. So this might go for like a weaker Phoenix, whereas yesterday in the NASDAQ, it did a stronger Phoenix and popped. So that's the possibility here. Let's go look at gold. I have a photographic memory. I wish I have an artist memory. So like I see things as snapshots, as pictures. Like if I see somebody's face, I can recognize the face like very, very easily, but then putting the name to the face, that's where things come into trouble. It's like, I've seen you before. I don't know who you are, but I've seen you before. And that's kind of embarrassing. So a lot of times I'll see the same pattern and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what was the name of the chart that I saw that pattern? I know, I just saw it. I know, a lot of people are bad with names. It's totally not intentional. It's just our brains are wired a little bit differently. And I've tried all kinds of, like cheats to try to remember it. So, you know what I've taken to doing? I'm like, hey, smile for the camera. So every time I enter somebody's contact information in my phone, I take a picture. So I have some really hilarious pictures of people. And people have hilarious pictures of me too, with my sticking out my tongue so that they can have like crazy pictures. Just make it fun. All right, so I'm going to go look at gold here next. And gold has been kind of blah because I'm still bullish on this on the larger time frames, but it's so exhausted on the weekly chart. It's just like trying to catch its breath in here. So the monthly time frame is what I'm bullish on. So this can, still correct out for quite a while. Um, Daily chart, this is at a point where this could still pull back in here and then get going again. So we could still see this pull back and go. This is kind of breaking a little bit too early at this point. So that's why you've got just like a 2T setup in here. So I'd like to see that 2T kind of pull back and go into a longer base to get the continuation going a little bit better. Shorter term, it's just two waves on two waves. I have played gold a couple times over the last week at levels like this, where we get some pretty nice little pops. That was not the one I traded. Where was it? Like it was not 4 in the morning. It's on a smaller time frame. But we've seen some really nice V pivots during the day on this. Actually, maybe it was 4 in the morning. I've had a crazy schedule lately. Oh, it was that one right there. The little 2B. I guess that is 2:30, 2:15-ish in the morning. People always ask, is there like a particular time that I like to trade? I'm like, anytime the market is open and I see something, that's my favorite time to trade. I just have my charts on my computer all the time, so it's just kind of whenever I see something. I don't see anything here in gold right now. I mean, it looks like you've got the two-wave move up, but it pulled back more than 50%. So that's going to make it harder to do another breakdown at this point. It's more likely, maybe it could do like a head and shoulders here. That would be something to watch for on the 15 and 30 minute. I would say that gold will continue to climb slowly as long as other countries' currency continue to lower their interest rates. I'd say that you are correct on that one as well. Let's see bonds. I'm gonna pull up bonds for you guys. And then we'll go look at some stocks. See what do we got for time here. Okay, we're good on time. Bonds are messy too because they are at that larger resistance on the daily and weekly as well. So we can get that to pull up. And this is the gold on the monthly. It says bonds because it's still loading, but this is gold on the monthly. So you can see it's doing that kind of rounding off. So I'm hoping that this is going to do like a nice big cup formation. That's what I'm looking for over the next year. Do, 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 do. I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, so it's a little sketchy. I've still been trading. That's kind of a little bit iffy, but make sure you put your stops in. That's all I gotta say. This is kind of trying to do a phoenix, but it almost looks like one that's gonna fail. Like this is kind of like trying to round off. on the 240 minute. So it looks like it could go and do another move on the downside here. I want to see that larger time frame. Okay, here's our daily. Momentum reversal. This would really be nicer to do a second move up. So if that fails, it really is not as clean of a pattern as if it tries to do the Phoenix. That would be the one that I would be more likely to favor, but it's going to be a hard entry, I think, because when it looks like this with this big megaphone and then it goes and does a Phoenix, what we have to see is the megaphone needs to gain momentum up into here and then a little bit of a base, and then it will usually like do kind of like a creeping move up out of it as it holds the upper end of the megaphone. The problem we've got with this megaphone, you guys, of course, is that it's stalled only halfway up, right, Donna? So that is bad news. That's more bullish or more bearish. So our megaphones, we want them to go about to here, like shoot right up into there to allow them to do that continuation on the upside. And that's just not happening here. So how does this flush out is the question. So daily chart, I would prefer it to a Phoenix, but intraday, we just are not seeing that probability be very high here at the moment. There's not really anything on a smaller time frame yet. Because if this tries to break down, it could easily do it with slower move because this is so steep this morning. So a lot of times when those break down, they'll go like that. And that can even pop back up later. Or it will just slowly gain momentum like this. So it's not high probability trade zone here on this one. Let's go look at some individual stocks for you guys. You guys have some questions on Tesla. We are in earnings season, so it is an awesome time to be trading earnings gaps. Tesla is going to keep going lower. You've got some initial support in here, but this is bad news for Tesla. Gotta keep moving my thing out of the way here. Monthly. Weekly, we are looking at this to try to come back down and to probably do a slightly lower low here. So if you're short Tesla, yay! So you've got basically a two-wave move down. You've got the shallow avalanche we talked about before with the stronger momentum down, the pop up, and then the gap trap. That is like one of those beautiful gaps that you want to see for continuation moves on this daily time frame. Look at that trap. I mean, this is perfect. This is like exactly what we talk about when we talk about the gap traps. Now, hey, if this was a little tighter, smaller gap, then yeah, you get more selling the day of the gap, like over here, right? But it's still a really good move for continuation. So I would be looking for two-wave move on Tesla first for the continuation on that one. Oh, I wish I'd been here to see that. I haven't been trading stocks at all when I've been on the road. I've just been sticking to futures here, not overloading whatever random internet I'm at the moment. That's a pretty good opportunities there intraday to catch it too. Let's see what else we got going on for setups. If you're long Tesla, you should be doing hedge with options just because it is so volatile. Ugh, if you are long with Tesla, oh my. Let's see if we've got any other gappers that are looking for swings that can give you guys some swing trades here. I should have brought in my other monitor. This is crazy trying to do this with one monitor. US drawings. Google. I don't know. Let's see. I'm just going to keep the one chart and switch it. Weekly. Monthly still looks to push higher. Monthly looks like it could easily do a higher high where it is treating this like a two-wave move because it didn't quite make it up to the top for a megaphone. So I could easily see that pushing up into there still. So even though the gap here is pretty big on Google, and obviously intraday we've got a little bit of exhaustion. Let me close some of these other charts down just so they're just out of the way. You don't need them today. Okay. So even though Google is pretty extended here intraday, I think we are going to still be able to get this to have continued upside. Even this afternoon, this can offer further buy setups as we go into the afternoon. So just watch for that, see if that can base along there on highs. I wouldn't expect strong surging, but more like a creeping move. Let's see what else we've got on our daily charts. That is a beautiful gap. These are the things that I like to watch for day trades during earnings season. Nice breakaway gap move extends the momentum, so you usually get some good continuation on this. So you can see how it had really nice two-wave move here. And that's basically your kind of like your most guaranteed move. It's a little trickier after that. I'm looking for things right now that can give us some swing trade potential. We might look on the short side. This is another gap that is really good to watch for intraday setups, especially right out of the open. These you usually have to go down to a really small tick chart. So even something like here, the 25 tick chart, but you can catch that first continuation. As long as this is that strong momentum right away, the first continuation of just a little baby two-wave correction is really good. So that's another one of those gaps that you guys want to keep an eye out for as we're in earnings. This one's trickier because it's running and then it gaps. So that can create more of a trap where it can actually turn around. See, here you go. This is the class that I taught you guys the other day at Wealth 365, where it is the exhaustion gap. So what that does is you'll watch for the two waves up or the even three waves up and then shifting momentum. And then you're looking for the reversal. So you're looking for the shifting momentum and then the reversal trades on this. So this was a version of what I taught at the Wealth 365. event, Starbucks. I'm gonna go look at the weekly on this. It's just gone parabolic. Monthly. So when something pulls up and gets to this level, we do see some really rapid corrective type of moves that will flush back and then pop back up and retest the highs. And we are at a point that those can start to happen now. You see these two red bars in the middle? That tells me that this is wave one here. Here's your two-wave correction. This is wave two. So we're at that extended level where flushes can happen more often now. So on the daily, that means that this can have those flushes. And see, this is even doing that shifting trade like I taught you guys at the Wealth 365. Same thing. You got your first move, your second move, your third move, and it shifts. And then this can go into an avalanche at that point. So those are, we've seen two strategies. Basically, you've got your breakaway gap that has, you look for on the tick chart right away out of the open for continuations. And then you've got your exhaustion gaps. That was a beautiful breakout intraday. A little on the thinner side, but really nice, strong technical move. Look at that perfect measured move there for exhaustion. And it's right at the 78 price resistance. These are beautiful setups. This is the type of thing that we always used to look for when I was running a trading room like a dozen years ago, where we were trading stocks all day, every day. It was all just chat based, but these were the patterns we would always watch for. And to this day, they remain very, very strong setups. This looks like a breakdown coming up. Interesting. This looks like we could get a breakdown here, another two-way breakdown into the afternoon. This is OMCL, basing at lows. It's thin, so trying to get short is not going to be easy, but I want you guys to just look at the pattern. So use it for pattern study. What are my thoughts on LK? That's not one that I can say I trade. I don't even know that I've ever looked at LK before. Let's see, what does LK look like? Oh, this looks like a pretty recent IPO, huh? Well, I mean, you've got your Phoenix with the measured move here. And it's coming back into those previous highs. So this is really strong resistance. So I would expect this to start to shift at this point. On IPOs that fail, this is usually when they're done. They'll turn around here, or they'll go and do something like this and turn around and be done. But I have seen them that fall like this to start with and then can continue a steady uptrend. So it's just going to depend on how this reaction momentum shift is. I wouldn't do anything with it right here because basically you're at a target level on your Phoenix coming out of this wedge. Chinese coffee company in competition with Starbucks. Luckin Coffee. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. Even on this move, it could still push a little bit here. So you don't have quite a measured move yet, so it could still push it just a little bit here. They were on 60 minutes. Well, I've got to watch TV then. I have to watch way more TV than I actually watch. And this could go into a two-wave continuation. It needs to pull back a little bit more. It's still a little too early though. MRVL, Marvel Tech. So this is going for a 2T on the daily, but it looks like one that could go extended and maybe not ever trigger a 2T. Let's see weekly. The weekly is steep. It's almost gone a little bit past that ideal 2T zone. We saw this type of action, you guys remember, in the NASDAQ a couple of days ago or a week or so ago, where it looked like it was going to do a 2T at the end of the day, and then it just kind of kept going and never actually followed through on the 2T. And I know some of you in the forum were watching it. That kind of is reminding me of this. So it's going a little bit further. I don't see stock news on Nickelodeon. No, they don't have stock news on Nickelodeon. I don't even know if I get Nickelodeon, you guys. So we're almost at exactly a measured move when we're looking at that last pivot low, but we're past it here. So it's basically a do or die point for, is this going to do a 2T here? It's not looking exceptionally favorable. I'd want to go down to an intraday chart to look for short setups. Treat part of it as a day trade, and then as long as it starts to develop favorably intraday, hold the rest for a swing trade for a 2T. It's this little increase here. It's kind of hard to see, but this little increase there is what is making me a little more nervous on this. See how this is kind of popping up right here? So it's a little slower here with a two-wave move, goes into a little bit of a base, and then it's kind of picking up. I'd like to have seen something more steady like this. And maybe like a 1, 2, 3 into that. That would have been more ideal. So even though overall it's slower, that last section picking up makes me wonder if this is just going to be able to keep going. So if you're long on this, I wouldn't worry too much. Just watch for if it starts to offer like bigger setups intraday that are confirming, like an avalanche or something that would confirm the 2T, that's where I would get more aggressive on protecting anything. But right now, I don't think I would do too much other than just sticking to the day trades with the potential that they can turn into partial swing trades. And the moment that's partially because the momentum on the weekly and the monthly is so strong. XLE. Here's that example that I was showing you guys earlier when it pops once and we get this shift in momentum and then it goes and it goes down. So it pops once, it could go and break and do a second wave up, or it could shift and break down. And we've been seeing the shift and break down a lot more. And this looks like it could do another wave here, like that. So you got your two waves up, but it has some slightly higher highs. So it could still pull back a little bit more. Let me look at the weekly. Whoops, wrong one. Monthly looks like this could develop into a move down too, but not quite yet. So I almost like to go out a little bit more, pull up a little bit more before that goes down. This is a pretty 2T. That's a nice 2T. And so this is trying to go into a bigger avalanche. And the question is, does it treat this as leg 1, so then it tries to go for leg 2, a bigger leg 2 before it tries to get going? Or does it do this as more like a 1, 2, 3? So it's at kind of a do or die point, but I don't see a confirmation yet for this. Let's go back down. So weekly is kind of iffy because this could just do a two-wave down and bounce. Yeah, my concern is this might just do a two-wave down and then bounce again so that it might not fully break lower yet on that monthly time frame. Again, it's some one move up. So you've got like one main move up here. It's not like it based for breakdown for an avalanche. It's not a pure avalanche base, but it didn't go like this to break down for an avalanche. So it's kind of like halfway in between where the momentum up is like this, and then we're now looking at the momentum like this, which can shift out and drop or pop like that. I'm leaning towards the shifting out and dropping. That's what I'm leaning towards though. Kind of a smaller version of what was going on over here. Just not as clear cut, guys. But if I was looking for a trade, I'd be looking for a short, looking for the second move down on XLE. Do you ever play with oil refiners? Not really. I trade oil futures and that's pretty much it. Let's see. Apple. Apple is the same thing, you guys, right? It's doing this shift here where this could easily break down. So I'm looking at this as a greater potential to break down, even though it's at like that zone where it could technically break higher, but it would have to fully break this upper channel to confirm. So until it does that, I'm going to be playing more of the short side. So that's easier on the short side. So many of these lately. Baidu. I mean, Baidu has support here, but it hit it so hard and so fast right here that this is likely, even on a bounce, it's still likely to go back down. So this base looks like it's more likely to try to creep lower. All right, guys, we did not get time to head into the Forex market today, but if I get time over this weekend, I'll put together a video for you on Forex ahead of Monday so that you guys can review Forex ahead of Monday. I'll be back in Tucson Saturday sometime. So I'll do a short little video for you guys that'll catch on key points for the Forex markets here as we go into next week. All right, gang, we're going to wrap this up here today. Thank you for joining me from somewhere in the middle of very flat Kansas. Hopefully we will be hitting the mountains here today. My husband is in Manitoba Springs, I don't know, somewhere by Colorado Springs today. So we're going to do like a wave as we pass him. He's doing a boys' weekend. Yeah, Richie, I'm sorry. We did have an early forward focus today. So all of your emails should have said early meeting. I sent out messages to everybody, but I will get it posted up on YouTube as well. If you did not get a message for the update, I'm wondering if you're not on the Forward Focus email list. So send me an email at tony@tonyhansen.com and I'll make sure that you're on the Forward Focus email list. I also did the update in GoToWebinar and it was supposed to, I got the confirmation, so I don't know why anybody would not have, but I will put it on there too. Oh, can't access your email during the work week. Okay. Yeah, I also posted in Telegram, so tried to let everybody know as well as I could, but I will get this posted here like almost right away. So within the hour, you guys will have this on YouTube to review. Okay. And then I'm looking at getting it set up so that GoToWebinar will automatically send out the replay link to you guys as well. I don't see much here on BABA except it might be going for a 2T here, Richard, so a smaller 2T. Again, it's at that midway zone. So it's at that iffier zone where the range will usually get narrower. You won't have as much follow through on a setup. It'll just kind of go a little bit back and forth. So maybe a little baby 2T, but I probably wouldn't look for too much on it. So I'm going to get this saved so that I can get you that replay link before I hit the road and make sure everybody can go back and review it. So I'll post the replay link into Telegram as well as soon as it is available and get that out there to all of you. If you're League of Traders, you'll get it on an email over the weekend too so that you can review it for the weekend. All right, everyone, I am heading on out, gonna hit the road here, and I will see you all back on Monday, and I will be back in Tucson. So have a wonderful weekend, you guys. Richie, if you want to send me your phone number, put your phone number here in private message, I can text you the replay link as soon as it's available so that you can get it right away without having to go into your email account.